hard shell on it. So I'm going to cover it in sugar paste now. All I'm going to do literally is just to run a little bit of soft buttercream just around the outside, just to bring the stickiness back. Okay. Everybody uses white sugar paste to cover their cakes. We're going to use a bright pink today. The problem with using bright colours on covering cakes is that it shows up the icing sugar. So I'm going to show you some tricks on how to stop the icing sugar from becoming a problem on your coloured sugar paste. So we're going to use this cerise pink today. I'm going to use 750 grams to a kilo. So I bought a kilo's worth of sugar paste because we're going to need between 750 and a kilo's worth to get a really nice coverage on our cake. So we're going to knead this together. Now, kneading. The idea of kneading sugar paste is to change it from one shape to another. So the reason we do this is to try and get a little bit of heat into it. Okay, and now can you see what I'm doing? I'm using this part here of my hand to push down into the sugar paste, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back, then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to knead down, fold it back and turn it. The reason that we do it this way is because we don't want to get any air bubbles into it. If you start doing this, all that's doing is trapping air into your sugar paste. You need to be flattening out all the air, folding it back and turning. And that, sped up, turns into this. Okay. There's a fine line between getting the perfect knead and over kneading. If you over knead, you put too much moisture and too much heat into your sugar paste and it will start cracking. So just so that it feels like nice soft Play-Doh almost. And turn it round like so. Okay. Now, icing sugar is white and we're using fuchsia pink here, so we really do need to limit the amount of icing sugar that we use to roll out our sugar paste. I'm using a non-stick board here, but if you're going to use your work surface then you will need a little bit more than I'm using now. But obviously I do like to use as little icing sugar as possible when we're using coloured sugar paste. So a really light amount of icing sugar, and I'm almost dusting most of it away. Okay, icing sugar on the palm of my hand, and I'm going to almost polish it into my colour because I only need the surface of my sugar paste to be dried. So can you see that as I'm polishing it in, I've got myself a dry chalky surface. It's actually brought the colour back to the surface. And now I'm going to start rolling. Now, when you start rolling your sugar paste, because it's a ball, don't start from the edge and roll all the way because it will become very uneven. You want to start in the middle and just rock your rolling pin backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Make sure you keep turning so that it's not sticking, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Now, can you notice that I'm using my wrists and my lower arms? If you roll your icing like this and you stop, you'll get ridges in your sugar paste. So we start from the edge with our tipped fingers and then we roll. And once we get to the end of our hands, we don't stop, we just continue over our wrists and up our lower arms, all the way sometimes up to the elbow. And what this will do is it will give you a nice, even sugar paste. You notice that I'm turning after each forwards and backwards. Underneath and turn. Make sure that every time you turn you've got yourself some of your icing sugar. I've used up most of my icing sugar now, but it's fine because I'm just about ready to cover. Now before you put your sugar paste onto your cake, give it a polish. The reason we're doing this, get rid of any air bubbles, get rid of any excess icing sugar, and also just ensure a perfect sheen over our sugar paste. And I'm going to lift this gently up and move it to one side. I think it's very, very clever the way people fling their sugar paste over their rolling pins, but I have absolutely no idea how you do that. So I learnt the original way, which was to lift your sugar paste all the way up my arms. I'm going to look at the centre of my sugar paste, and I'm going to look at the centre of my cake, and I'm going to drape my icing over the top. I'm going to take one of my smoothers. I'm going to smooth firmly but quite lightly over the top, round and around and around and around. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get rid of all the air bubbles, because if you leave an air bubble trapped in the top, once you put the sides down, you'll never get rid of it. Okay, so now I've got flat side. I'm now going to present the icing to the side of my cake. Now I'm pressing from the top down. I'm not pulling my icing down, I'm just presenting it. The reason that I'm doing that from the top all the way down again is to ensure that there's no air bubbles in the icing. Now if you come to a point and you've got a little bit of creasing going on, don't be afraid to pull it away and flatten it, because it will pull away. So don't try and work the crease into the side, pull it away and start again. Now, if you notice, I don't have any dry patches or tears on the top of my corners, and that's because I'm not pulling my icing down, I'm just presenting it to the side. Okay, so now I've got the cake roughly covered. I'm going to take a sharp knife and I'm going to get rid of all this excess. So leaving about 1/4 of an inch all the way around the side. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to smooth over your cake using 2 smoothers. Some people use one, but I can't see the point of putting a human hand on here and doing this and then changing it around and doing this. So no more human hands on the cake. Human hands are going to create heat, and heat is going to create bumps and bubbles and all sorts of things in your sugar paste. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the smoothers as an extension of our hand, and I'm going to first of all concentrate on round the side. So when I'm doing my smoothing like this, all this smooth is doing is holding the cake in place, and vice versa. Okay. Moving around. If you notice, this is moving around on the workboard, but because we put the buttercream onto the board, onto this workboard here, nothing's moving around. So it does do the job properly. Okay, once we've got all the sides perfectly smooth, then we're going to start on the top. Okay, and I'm going to put this to the side and this to the side, and I'm going to bring them together. So I'm pushing this up and I'm pushing this together at the same time. And as you can probably see, that as I push up and push from the centre outwards, that creates a perfect straight edge. So I'll work my way around the whole of the cake, stopping and checking all the time. And we've got nice straight sort of 90-degree angles. What I'm going to do now is take my hands and literally just at the top here, this part of my hand here, it's almost like my lifeline if I was a palm reader, and I'm literally just going to swing around the top, and what that does is it just softens that line and makes it look a lot more natural. Okay, now I've just had human hands on it, so I'm going to literally just perfect around those edges again. Okay, now to perfect the bottom. Lots of people use a knife, lots of people use palette knives, etc. Working in a busy kitchen, learning in a busy kitchen, we could never find any knives. So I do actually use my smoother. If you put your smoother at a 45-degree angle to the side of your cake, push down and pull away, you will get a perfect cut. Which we can later tidy up. Can you see? Going all the way around my cake, pushing down and pulling off. Okay, take all those edges away. And now, if I look over the top of my cake, on my tiptoes, I'm going to look down and I can see where all those corners are looking over the top. So if I want to put a ribbon around my board, those bits are going to poke out the bottom of my ribbon. So just as a final finish, I'm going to look over the top and take all those little bits away. And give just one last rub around the bottom. And there you have a coloured sugar paste covered cake.